information, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, if the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful, creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best. Show them what you about. We gotta love each other. Stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self. That's the priority. TP.
Been taught for so many centuries.
Oh, go? What happened with the video? With the music?
What do you mean video?
The music.
The music was playing.
Really, it was so low I couldn't hear
I
it.
had it cranked up. I had the speakers here as high as I could get them. So I mean, yeah, everything's. I don't know what's going on with it, but we're recording and the audio level's going. I can see the readout here, so we're recording. So.
Okay. All right. Little technical difficulties that I was experiencing. None at the studio, but with my hearing, I was not hearing anything, so I call that little technical difficulties. But John said it's all okay, and I hope y'all heard it also. See, Jumbo, everybody, welcome back to Satora's Black History Corner Internet. We've been gone for a good month.
Yes.
And I had a good time, but I had a job. So I had to clear my slate to do this job because I didn't get off until 4. So now I'm on a different time, and I'm on a part-time thing, so now I'm back in full force.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm your host, Catherine Hunter Williams, along with my co-host, Miss Catherine.
Hello, everybody.
Y'all see this pink this woman got on? It looks good on her, don't it? Today we're going to tell our story about Dr. J. Marion Sims, who was a physician with a very controversial background. And Miss B will begin a short series about women in the suffrage movement.
Amen.
All right. And we'd like to invite you to call in with any questions or comments during our program at 810-208-1854. That's 810-208-1854. All right, let's get it on, Miss B.
All right. This is very interesting.
Dr. J. Marion?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to talk to you, as I said, I was going to tell you our story about J. Marion Sims, Dr. J. Marion Sims. He was born January 25th, 1813, and was a physician and a pioneer in the field of surgery, considered by some as the father of modern gynecology. His most significant work was to develop a surgical technique for the repair of the vesico-vaginal fistula.
What in the world?
Well, fistulas usually are little cuts that be on the anus, but I guess they also have them on the vagina. Okay, let me finish it. It's a severe complication of obstructed childbirth. Okay. Vesico-vaginal fistula is a severe complication of obstructed childbirth.
Wow.
Let's go on into it. Due to his use of enslaved American African women as experimental subjects, Sims is considered a controversial figure by modern historians and ethics. John, you got a picture of him? There you go. He is considered a prime example of progress in the medical profession made at the expense of a vulnerable population.
My.
Physician L.L. Walls has defended Sims on the basis of his conformity to accept medical practices of the time. the therapeutic nature of his surgery and the catastrophic nature for women of the condition he was going to try to fix. Okay. Medical experiments on slaves. Women with vasicovaginal fistulas described as catastrophic, complications of childbirth were in the 19th century social outcasts as no cure was available. The frequently occurring injuries left the women subject to a leaking urine and related medical problems. In Montgomery, over a period of 4 years, Sims experimented by surgery on 14 enslaved women with fistulas, most of whom he bought and kept on his property for this purpose. And some he operated on up to 30 times. That's a lot of surgeries. He named 3 enslaved women in his record: Arnacia, Betsy, and Lucy. Each suffered from fistula. By working with them, he developed new surgical techniques to repair this condition. He also used them as subjects for medical research. From 1845 to 1849, he experimented on them, operating on Arnacia 30 times. She had a particularly difficult combination, vasicovaginal and rectovaginal fistula,
Oh my Lord.
which he struggled to repair. Although anesthesia had recently become available, Sims did not use any anesthesia during his procedure on Arnacia, Betsy, and Lucy.
My.
It was not yet fully accepted into surgical practice. He did administer opium to the women after their surgery, which was accepted therapeutic practice of the day.
If I can interject here, though, back then anesthesia was probably just as probably riskier than the surgery is itself at times, because they didn't have abdominal blood gases, the amount, they didn't know how to weigh that in. So that's why a lot of people had really kind of reservations. That's the reason why the Christian Scientists actually advocated not going to doctors when they first started, and that was later on after the Civil War era, because there were so many problems with anesthesia and stuff like that, and medical practice itself would be beyond quackery. So that itself, I don't even never heard this guy before, but it wasn't unusual for people not to practice anesthesia because there was so little known about it at that time.
Yeah, but I thought they gave them alcohol.
Well, alcohol, they also used laudanum, they used other things, they also used ether, and all those things had their advantages. Certainly, we'd want to be knocked out if we were having a limb cut off or childbirth or whatever. We'd want to be knocked unconscious for some, but we know that more, but ether ran the risk too. There's serious risk with the ether, especially in the surgical, the place where you're doing surgery if it's enclosed. Actually, everybody could pass out from, because they're all inhaling the fumes too. So everybody's falling asleep on top of each other. That happened back in the early days too. So I mean, anesthesia was very, very, just as risky as any surgical procedure in itself. Probably
I
even more
have
so.
a very bad allergic reaction to anesthesia, and it may take me weeks to come out from under it. It does something to my brain. But anyway, John, he did administer opium to the women after though.
Yeah, I believe
After their surgery. So he cut on them without anything at all.
But they needed that opium then.
Yeah, well, they needed it before he
What do
cut
you
on
think?
them.
Yeah.
And I don't, John, will you put up that instrument he used? After the extensive experiments and difficulties, Sims finally perfected his technique. He repaired the fistula successfully in Arnacia. His technique using silver wire sutures. Is that stitches? He used silver wires to stitch her up?
Yeah, there'd be sutures or what, certain types of suturing, yeah. Stitches or sutures, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
John.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the parts of the body, though, it depends on what's being stitched up. I mean, if it's something really vascular or really muscular, they're going to have to use something. Okay, somebody sneezes when they got internal stitching, could rip it easier apart. So I could see them using something like real strong, like steel or silk or whatever. I mean, what do they say? You said steel?
Silver.
Silver. Yeah, silver was actually it's
Silver wire sutures.
Yeah, they're antimicrobial. See, silver is antimicrobial. Actually, you want silver in your body if you're going to have stitches because it prevents microbes and bacteria and infections setting in.
So that's what silver wire sutures do.
Right. See, they use actually silver in a lot of medical procedures now. And then actually years ago when a baby was born, they used to give silver nitrate solution to put in the eye drops to prevent, because a lot of times mothers would have venereal diseases like gonorrhea and syphilis. I forget which one causes blindness. So they'd wash the eyes of the infant out with a silver nitrate solution. It was very low, small amounts of that in there, but it would wash out the eye and prevent the infection from setting in the infant's eyes. So silver is something they use a lot. It's a very high demand in surgical procedures.
Didn't know that one. Never had heard of it because all I ever seen was string or staples today.
I wasn't aware of they use it at that stage. So he might have been advanced. He might have been like really advanced in that adoption of silver.
He was experimenting.
But he might have been advanced in that because back then they didn't even know. This is before.
This was his technique. In other words, because he said he uses.
Right.
His technique using, that means he have done it before.
Right, so he was kind of trend setting basically,
yeah,
to my knowledge. Yeah.
Okay, he then repaired several other enslaved women. It was only after his success in early experiments on the slaves that Sims attempted the procedure on white women with fistulas, and he used anesthesia for their surgeries. Opium afterwards, it puts you in a certain state, it puts you in a certain state, but it don't actually remove pain, but it do put your mind in a certain state of calmness, relaxation. But he didn't do that until after he did the surgery.
Because they were in so much pain.
Well, the surgery on them was in pain. I want John to show there it is. That's the instrument he would use. But I want to just leave that up there for a minute, and I want to get back to it. Right now, I want to speak about Arnacia, how she came involved with this. One spring afternoon in 1845. No, put the slave woman back up, John, for me. This is her. And then you can see two other ones on the back side looking in. Mm-hmm. Can y'all see her? They at the end of the curtain, and they looking in to see what they're going to do to her. Anyway, one spring afternoon in 1845, Sims was summoned to the Westcott plantation, about a mile out of Montgomery. A young enslaved woman named Arnacia, one of 75 Africans held captive there, had been in labor for 3 days without delivering. Sims tried to aid the birth by applying forceps. That's the, if y'all know what forceps is, they kind of like that. And what they'll do is put them on the baby's head and pull them out. Oh, dangerous stuff. Dangerous, because their heads are so soft. He recalled having little experience using the instrument. He didn't know how to do it. The baby was born, no record if it lived or died, and the mother sustained several fistulas, resulting in incontinence, which means that she had no control over her urine when she would just use the bathroom on herself. It is unclear whether Sim inflicted the damage himself while using the unfamiliar forceps, or they occurred as a result of the prolonged birth. Several days after Arnacia delivered, she was sent to Sims in hope he could repair the damage. Sims found her condition repugnant. Her value diminished considerably, and Sims obliged to her master. He attempted to repair Arnacia's badly damaged body. She was no good no more. That was the end of her. She was just no good no more. Sim showed an uncommon willingness to break down cultural barriers in his treatment of female disorders. And I'm going to have to skip ahead because our time is getting short. He was eager to devote the rest of his life to this condition. He built a crude 16-bed hospital in his backyard. To aid him in his experiments, he fashioned over 71 surgical instruments. He made them. And when you go on the site, look at those instruments. Sims sent for as many cases as he could find. Plantation owners were happy to turn their incontinent, damaged female slaves over to Sims for experimentation. They were of little use to their masters in their present condition. Between January 1846 and June 1849, he experimented surgically on as many as 11 patients at one time. 2 enslaved women, in addition to our nation, Bessie and Lucy, were also young women. And those are those women that I was telling you on that picture. They back there by the curtain to your left-hand side. You can see them looking around the curtain. They were also young women who contracted officials giving birth for the first time. And you got to remember that these were young girls. They were not women. They were girls. 13, 14-year-old girls having birth. Together, these 3 women endured repeated operations and were patients of Sim for the duration of the hospital's existence. Our nation is believed to have undergone over 30 operations, as I had said. Sim subscribed to a commonly held belief that Africans had a specific psychological tolerance for pain unknown to whites. By whites. Oh my goodness. He never felt the need to anesthetize his black patients in Montgomery. The white women who came to him after the surgery was an accepted form of treatment, were unable to withstand the same operation without anesthesia, according to Sims. While he never administered anesthesia during the experiments, he did include opium in his post-operative treatment. Opium kept all the patients still. I know that's right. It do. It just make you lay there, aiding the healing process. And Sims found the accompanying constipation a necessity in the aftermath of surgery. He also emphasized giving the patient minimal food and water for a 2-week period after surgery. He didn't feed them. What did he give them? A minimal. Food and water? Minimal? Yeah, he fed them. In the first months of the original surgery, Sims would invite his colleagues to witness the operations. As a number of operations grew and the failures mounted, Sims soon found himself operating alone. I'm sure he did. The hospital was off limits to Sims' family, so he had to rely on the assistance of enslaved victims themselves. I remember when I had the heart attack back in January, and they could not put me under with everything they had given me. And I was feeling everything that they was doing to me. When they was trying to put they put 6, Lord, what's the name of these things in my heart? I don't know.
Stents?
6 stents in my heart. Well, they take them through your veins. Mm-hmm. And I would tell them, I'm feeling that, ow, ow, because it hurt. And yet they had gave me anesthesia. It just didn't work on me. That's why they had to do it twice. The first one they did, they put 2 of them in. They went to both arms and then they go down in the groins. That was hurtful. That hurted me so bad. I was crying and telling them, this is hurting me. I'm feeling this, And so they just did 2. And they told me they had gave me more the first time than they did the second time of anesthesia. Because the second time they totally knocked me out. I had told them, though, y'all got to give me some. I'm too hyped up for this,
Wow.
And so by them not giving me nothing, they couldn't put me out. But during it, I was feeling it all. And so I can understand what these women was going through as far as the pain is concerned, to a degree. I mean, they didn't cut on me or anything, but you just imagine them taking a stent and taking it up in your vein to your heart. It hurts. It absolutely hurts. So anyway, there's much more to his story. Y'all could go on the internet and type in J. Merriam Sims and find out more about him.
I'm definitely going to do that.
He joined his ancestors November 13, 1883. And as they say, was a physician and a pioneer in the field of surgery.
He was born when?
1883. He was born January 25th, 1813.
1813. And he
There's,
died in 83.
Yep, in 1883. There's a book out called Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. I would recommend that you get this book and read it for yourself. It is an awesome book, and it's a history book, and it goes all the way back up to the day. And you will see the difference that still happens to black people and Hispanics in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Just the book is Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington. And those that live in Flint, I think they got it down at Page's bookstore at 132 West 2nd Street. If they don't have it there, she can order it for you. It's an awesome story.
Apartheid.
Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington.
Wow.
They also call this man the father of gynecology.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's got me hurting in my stomach.
Do it?
Yeah, you know, I feel funny. Wow.
Okay, let me just knock him and be done with him. Undeniably, 19th century medical practices were crude and painful, but Sims' contemporaries felt him unnecessarily cruel. Since it was illegal for enslaved Africans to read or write, an offense punishable by death, Arnacia, Bessie, and Lucy left no account of their ordeal. We can only imagine what they endured at the hands of Sims. All over the world, Sims has been honored and memorialized with statues and plaques.
For real?
Yeah. Building hospitals, foundations, schools, and streets bear his name. While it's impossible to negate the historical context of his racial, class, and gender biases, shouldn't we agree to apply some basic standards of humanity to those we chose to honor?
Wow.
And that's our story about J. Marion Sims, Arnacia, Bessie, and Lucy, 3 enslaved women that were slaves on his plantation, and he did surgery on these women.
Those were the only 3 he named.
Those are the only 3 that he named, but there were several more, and men were included, and also babies. He got babies too. Get the story. You can read the story. It's all on the internet of what he did. All right. Let's move forward. Miss B.
Wow.
Yeah, so many things. This lady at work today was talking about she watched, she's a white girl named Marty. She watched, and she's not a girl, she's a woman. She's an older woman, and she watched 12 Years a Slave. Mm-hmm. And she actually got sick behind it.
Yeah, it'll make you sick too.
Yeah, she got sick. She was sick at work. I mean, she was vomiting and stuff. She said, I just can't handle it. She said, what y'all people went through is just amazing.
Oh, she ain't seen nothing. That movie wasn't that bad.
Not to me.
No.
But to her, who have not seen it.
She have not.
And actually, she's more conscious because I'm around her.
Oh, okay.
That's why she's now taking off what's going on black, because we first started off talking about the boy in Missouri, Ferguson, Missouri.
Michael Brown.
Yeah, and she was talking about that. I just don't understand what they're doing. And so, hey, I had a talk with her. Mm-hmm. And after that, she came back and she told me, yeah, you're right. I know I'm right. Mm-hmm. You know? Hey, it affected a lot of people. It affected not just black people, it affected whites and Hispanics, everybody. Because what happened to that boy can happen to your son.
It's happening all over. And it's amazing now that it's being broadcast like it is, because this is not nothing new.
No.
Actually,
but it's not amazing. They just, to me, they done got tired.
Yeah.
Because like about the month before, they had the man, he was not a boy, in that chokehold. And we watched him die in that chokehold.
Right there, yeah.
But did you know the cops have been responsible for over 5,000 deaths of U.S. citizens since 2001? They have killed more people in the United States than the terrorist attacks in 9/11, 2001.
Well, in Ferguson, they done killed over 400 black people in Ferguson alone.
400?
That's apartheid.
Let's see, I didn't know that number was that high on that. I knew they had been responsible for a lot of deaths, but 5,000 people dead, and this is not just black, it's on everybody across the country. Yeah, we're supposed to trust our police officers.
Supposed to.
We're supposed to. I have real issues with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't see why do they have to use such deadly force.
Especially on that one where I saw in New York where they choked that guy out. I didn't see why they had to do that. There's several incidents that. There's a thing I want you guys to know too on Facebook. There's a place you can go to. It's called Cop Block, and they show videos of
Cop Block.
Yeah, BLOCK, like cop, COP.
Y'all hear that, people? Cop Block.
BLOCK. Yep. And they show videos and do reports of all this stuff that's going on around the United States.
That's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook, and there's also abuse going on in Canada too with the police, and increased violence against the citizenry. And the cops.
That's apartheid.
Well, it's not just a black-white issue, though. I mean, blacks and whites and everybody else is being affected by it.
It doesn't matter. It's still apartheid. It doesn't matter. Black, white, Hispanic, whatever. If you're using force on anyone to keep them in control, that's apartheid.
Well, it's they're doing this everywhere, though, and it's like even in Canada, they've had to increase the violence against the citizens there on behalf of the police. They've been militarizing police for the past 25 or 30 years. They actually have more armament than most military units do.
Yes, they do.
A lot of the larger cities, they actually got tanks and have personnel carriers.
Especially if they call out the National Guard.
Yeah, see, well, the National Guard, I've heard people want to say they want to call martial law in Flint and other areas.
Nope.
No, that's insane. If you have martial law,
they don't want to do that.
You're going to have more. You think your curfews and checkpoints are bad now? You're not going to have
I think we're on our way there.
Well, it's going to be.
I hope not.
We're on our way.
That they don't bring a National Guard in here. You know, you just got to see them in action. You don't want them here.
You really don't.
You don't. You don't want them here. Okay.
Okay,
Let's get it on,
I got
we're running out of time.
Yeah, I just wanted to complete the, well, not so much complete, but to continue with our series on the women in the suffrage. This one I wanted to talk about more women in the NAACP. This is really interesting what I found out too. It says women have always been part of the NAACP despite the fact they had to fight their way in it. Isn't that something?
Yes, that is something when it was supposed to have been found by blacks.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not just found by blacks. My understanding it was like the
several.
woman, Fannie Villard.
Mm-hmm.
She's white. Jewish people
There's
were involved.
several whites that were involved.
And they wouldn't let black people.
They didn't want women.
Women in the NAACP.
Women. And that's including white women too. They didn't want them either. But it was in 1905, and the Niagara movement had just begun to lay its plans for the women's suffrage.
Now, tell them what the Niagara movement was the beginning
of the NAACP, the civil rights movement.
And what is the NAACP? What does it mean?
And the NAACP is the National Association for Advancement of Colored People. And that was that's the oldest civil rights organization now. They were founded in 1909, and this was from the civil rights movement, and it came from the Niagara movement. And guess where they met?
In Canada, didn't they? When the Niagara movement started.
In the Niagara Falls and
that's
Canada.
Why it's called
Niagara movement. I said, wow.
Yeah, well, that's a good one to call it because the Niagara Falls is moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was for civil liberties, equal economic opportunities, decent housing in neighborhoods, equal access to education, and equal justice in the American court system. Wow.
Yeah, because, you know, blacks couldn't testify or anything.
Nothing.
Jim Crow laws was deep.
Although the movement was on behalf of fighting for women, it took the third meeting in Boston in 1907 for women to be allowed entrance to help determine their fate. The first two meetings were held in Niagara Falls on the Canadian border at Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. And at the Niagara movement meeting in Boston, it was reported that half of the 800 delegates were women. 400 women showed up there, but they had to be allowed. I just don't like the wording. They got this allowed to enter. When the NAACP was founded in 1909, the Mississippi newspaper publisher, and we know who that is, Miss Ida B. Wells, was at the table. And so was Mary White Overington. Now, Mary White Overington is white. The other women who were instrumental in the early NAACP, well, I'm not going to name them all today, but just to let you know, we're going to talk about a couple of these women. And one of them was Fannie Villard. You got her picture up, Fannie Villard?
It's on there. Yes, it is.
No, it's not. You got me Josephine, Mary. You give me. There's 2 Marys and 1 Josephine. I don't have any.
Oh,
You don't have no Fanny?
Nope.
you got Mary White Ovington? Who, is that who you got?
Mary.
Or is it Mary Church Terrell?
No.
There's Mary Church. I mean, there's Mary McLean something.
Mary McLeod Bethune.
Yeah, McLean Bethune. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she came later. She was invited, Mary McLeod Bethune of Daytona Beach, Florida. She was an existing social and community organizer established by black women to generate and sustain
Mary McLeod.
NAACP membership. Women played a large part in the early development of the NAACP, and she was an educator, along with Nanny Helen Burroughs, and they remained on the board of the NAACP for 3 decades. And she was invited by, oh my Lord, my mind just left me, W.E.B. Du Bois. He invited her to come and to be part of the NAACP. And she became involved in the campaigns that were favorable for the women's suffrage and against the lynching and the Jim Crow laws. And she also led efforts to improve education, which we know she did, and care for both women and children and the elderly. Okay, what other woman you got up there, John?
Mary Talbert.
Mary Talbert.
And Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin.
Okay.
I thought I had.
You got Mary Talbert. Okay, Mary Talbert.
Can I just read this about Mary Bethune? This is a quote of Mary McLeod Bethune, a woman of power. We live in a world which respects power above all things. Power, intelligently directed, can lead to more freedom. Unwisely directed, it can be a dreadful, destructive force. Yes. This was in her last will and testament.
Yeah, she was a woman of power, all right.
She advised 4 presidents who spearheaded a women's movement, fought for health care for the poor, and who was totally committed to education, especially the education of young black women.
Absolutely.
That was Mary McLeod Bethune. That's her story.
Okay. Now, Mary Morris Burnett Talbert. She is described by her peers as best known colored woman in the United States.
Best known colored woman?
That's the way they described her. Talbert used her education and her prodigious energies to improve the status of black people at home and abroad. In addition to her anti-lynching and anti-racism work, Talbert supported the women's suffrage, and in 1915 she spoke at the Votes for Women, and not too many black women were speakers back then, at a symposium by leading thinkers of colored women in Washington, D.C. And during her national and international lecture tour, Talbert educated audiences about the oppression condition in African American communities and the need for legislation to address these conditions. As a founder of the Niagara Movement, Talbert helped to launch civil rights activism in America, and then the Niagara Movement was radical enough in her brief life to both spawn and absorb controversy within the black community, preparing the way for its successors for the NAACP. Now that was Mary Morris Burnett Talbert.
In 1916, she was elected president of the National Association of Colored Women's Club. She was elected to a second 2-year term as president of that organization in 1918. During her tenure as NACW president, Mary Talbert was instrumental in the preservation and restoration of the Frederick Douglass home
And they just paid that house
in
off.
Anacostia.
And it's just been, they just celebrated, was it last year? For that redid something in the home. Well, it's supposed to be redone or something, because they
It's a museum.
yeah.
So, Miss B,
Yes.
you're gonna finish this series.
Yes,
and
I'm gonna.
on our next program.
Yes, I'll finish. Well, if I don't finish it, we will interject some of the women, because there were several women that were involved.
Okay.
And I am just so delighted and to know that women fought for to be included everywhere, not just one or two places. And they didn't just have their own organizations, but they fought to be included in organizations where men were too. And that's just, something that I wanted to make sure that everybody knew about the NAACP.
I like your series on the women's suffrage movement, because a lot of people don't know what women went through. Black women,
right,
and white women,
and white women. Yeah, I've got some white women here
to the vote and the freedom that they're enjoying themselves today. So on our next program, Miss B will talk about a couple, Fanny Garrison Villard and Josephine St. Pierre Ruffin.
Yes.
And I'm going to speak about Clyde Kennard, who was put in prison because he tried to go to college.
Several women.
Yeah.
Inspiring women.
Yeah, some of them. I love Mary
McLeod
Bethune, and Fannie Lou Hamer was my idol.
Oh yeah.
When I first started learning about our story, those were the women that came to my mind, and they gave me strength to hold on.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Fannie Lou Hamer.
Amen.
Satora's Black History Corner internet program comes to you via satellite at www.ustream, that's USTREAM.TV.channel Flint Talk Radio. That's one word, Flint Talk Radio. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30 p.m. Also, be sure to watch What's Going On with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 p.m. We hope you enjoyed the song you heard at the beginning of our program, which is our theme song, Be Proud to Be Black. Love the skin you're in. Featuring Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And if you would like to get more information about this CD single, you can contact 810-610-6476. As always, I like to say asante, which is a Swahili word that means thanks to all of you who have watched our program today. And if you have liked what you've seen and heard, please pass it on.
Oh, might I add something right quick?
Yep.
The reason I'm wearing all this pink is because Breast Cancer Month is coming up. And this is just an awareness to let you know, if you've got some donations to send into the American Cancer Society, please do that.
Amen. Yes. I just had a cousin just died from cancer, breast cancer as a matter of fact. And it was very quick, because it's like she found out about it 2 years ago, and she's gone now. Anyway, we do need your support, not only with what we're doing as far as this program, but also support for women.
Absolutely.
And women, breast cancer. We have so many things we need support of, but breast cancer is one of my main things that
breast cancer and heart disease.
Heart disease, diabetes. I can go on a list. Spinal bifida. I have a lot of them, but and I try to contribute to them, all of them, a little bit at a time. Okay, we need your support. Without it, we will cease to exist. Until next time, keep on keeping on with us and stay in perfect hotep, which means peace.
Peace.
The importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately
so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are, stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best, show them what you about. We gotta love each other, stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self, that's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
Hating our features and our skin and our blood, while we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior.
We must no longer be ashamed